On November 30th, 2022, a FedEx driver delivered a Christmas package to a home in Paradise, Texas. Inside the box, a set of Barbie dolls, meant for a 7-year-old named Athena Strand. Athena never got to open it. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how a routine delivery turned into one of the most disturbing child murder cases in recent Texas history, including the digital trail that caught him in under 48 hours, and the courtroom moment that decided whether he'd live or die. Who Athena was. Athena was 7 years old, living with her father in the small, rural community of Paradise, Texas, just outside Fort Worth. She was staying at the house that week, the way kids do when custody is shared between parents. The day she disappeared started ordinary. There'd been a minor disagreement with her stepmother earlier that evening. Nothing unusual, according to Wise County Sheriff Lane Aiken, who later described it as a normal kind of household friction. Her stepmother went to make dinner. When she came back to get Athena, the girl wasn't in her room. The disappearance. Athena was reported missing that same night, November 30th. A large search effort followed almost immediately, local authorities, volunteers, community members combing the area around the house. What investigators didn't yet know was that a FedEx contract driver, 31-year-old Tanner Lynn Horner, had made a delivery to that exact address around the same time Athena vanished. The package was the Barbie set. Investigators would later say Horner struck Athena with his van while backing out of the driveway. According to Horner's own account, the collision was an accident. He panicked and, instead of calling for help, put her in his truck. Prosecutors didn't buy that version. They argue the evidence told a different story, that the abduction was deliberate and that Athena was not seriously hurt in that initial moment. A still image later shown in court, taken from inside the delivery truck, showed her sitting in the vehicle with Horner, appearing unharmed. Prosecutors said that when Horner put her in the truck, he leaned down and told her twice not to scream or he'd hurt her. The 2-day investigation. Here's the part that separates this case from most. Investigators didn't need months, they needed 2 days. On December 2nd, 2022, Wise County authorities announced Horner's arrest. According to Sheriff Aiken, digital evidence combined with a confession led them directly to him. That same day, Athena's body was found roughly 10 miles from her home, near the town of Boyd. A medical examiner later determined the cause of death was blunt force injury combined with smothering and strangulation. She testified she didn't find clear evidence of sexual trauma, but couldn't rule out the possibility that some form of sexual contact had occurred. One detail investigators found particularly damning. The day after the murder, Horner searched his phone for pictures of Athena, including missing persons posters and crime scene photos that had already circulated. He also searched Paradise Missing Girl and looked up whether FedEx truck cameras record continuously. The charges pile up. On December 5th, 2022, Horner was formally charged with aggravated kidnapping and capital murder. Then, on December 22nd, prosecutors added 3 more charges, this time for sexual assault of a minor, tied to separate incidents from 2013 involving 2 different girls, both reportedly 16 at the time. These charges were unrelated to Athena, but became part of the broader picture prosecutors built of Horner during trial. Why it took years to go to trial. Despite the fast arrest, the case didn't reach trial for more than 3 years. Part of the delay came from a change of venue. Horner's defense team argued that intense media coverage in Wise County made a fair trial there impossible, and a judge agreed, moving proceedings to Tarrant County. The trial date also got pushed back multiple times, including a postponement in 2025. There was also a legal fight over the death penalty itself. In early 2026, Horner's attorneys tried to have capital punishment taken off the table entirely, arguing that his autism diagnosis should exempt him. A judge denied that motion in January 2026. Inside the trial. Jury selection and testimony began April 7, 2026 in a Fort Worth courtroom. Horner pleaded guilty to capital murder right as the trial started, meaning the only real question left for jurors was whether he'd get life in prison or execution. What followed was 19 days of testimony split between prosecution and defense. The prosecution's case rested on the physical and digital evidence, the collision, the confession, the search history, and, perhaps most damning, audio recorded from inside Horner's truck, capturing Athena's final moments. Jurors also saw footage of Horner placing her into the vehicle. An investigator testified that during police questioning, Horner referred to an alternate identity he called Zero and answered some questions about the crime as though speaking through that persona. It became part of the defense's broader argument about his mental state. The defense didn't dispute the facts. Instead, attorney Stephen Goebel asked jurors to weigh Horner's background, prenatal alcohol exposure, an autism diagnosis, documented mental illness, and childhood lead exposure. His mother, Melissa Horner, testified about her own history, addiction and unstable adolescence, and abuse she says she experienced starting as a child herself, including drug and alcohol use during her pregnancy with Tanner. A child development expert, Dr. Jolie Brams, testified for the defense about how that combination of factors could have shaped him. None of it was offered to excuse what happened. The defense's ask was specific: life in prison instead of death. The prosecution pushed back hard. Wise County District Attorney James Stainton told jurors that cases like this were exactly why Texas still has the death penalty on the books. The verdict. Closing arguments wrapped April 28th. Jurors deliberated for roughly 2.5 hours before reaching their decision: death by lethal injection. The jury found there was a real probability Horner would remain a danger if allowed to live, and that nothing about the crime or his background justified a lesser sentence. Horner reportedly showed no visible reaction when the sentence was read. When the judge asked about appointing appellate counsel, he simply said yes. Before sentencing, Horner had written a letter to Athena's family from jail. In it, he called what he did a terrible thing and said he was sorry. Athena's stepmother, addressing the court, said simply that Athena was just a baby. What came after? Athena's death changed more than one family's life. It changed state law. In the months following the murder, her mother pushed for a new kind of Amber Alert system, specifically for cases where a child goes missing without clear evidence of abduction. The result was House Bill 3556, nicknamed Athena's Alert, which passed the Texas House in 2023, cleared the Senate, and was signed into law by Governor Greg Abbott. The community hasn't let the case fade either. On what would have been Athena's 8th birthday, residents across North Texas wore pink in her memory. A permanent memorial now stands near Bobo's Crossing in Wise County, not far from where she was found. Tanner Horner is currently on death row in Texas, with an automatic appeal now underway, standard procedure in capital cases. What stands out about this case isn't just the crime itself, it's how fast digital evidence closed it, and how a single delivery day decision made in a matter of seconds ended up rewriting a state's missing persons law. If you want the full timeline of the trial, including the legislative fight over Athena's Alert, let me know in the comments and I'll cover it next. If this case affected you the way it affected me putting it together, hit subscribe. There's another case breaking down next week that people have been asking about.